Well, grace and peace, everyone. On September the 18th, 2025, Hallie Jackson of NBC News reported that French First Lady Brigitte Macron intends to present scientific proof to the court affirming that she is a female. This unprecedented step comes as a result of Macron's defamation suit against commentator Candace Owens, Cookie Candace, a case that raises not only questions about personal dignity and public scrutiny, but also about the extraordinary measures women are sometimes forced to take in order to defend the truth of their own identities. Yes, it is getting ready to go down for Candace Owens, also known as Cookie Candace. This is what I'm starting to call her. And just as my title expresses, I do not think she'll be able to recover in a way similar to that of Alex Jones, who was also sued for defamation many years ago. Now, in the case of Candace Owens, I have to start out by saying that I am more than disappointed in the trajectory that she has decided to take as far as her career is concerned. I really had a lot of faith and confidence in her when she came on the scene. I too fell for the notion that being articulate and being able to speak fluently in English is akin to intelligence. And without fail, I found out that no, it's not akin to intelligence. Now, when I say this, it's not necessarily a knock to Candace. However, what I mean by it is that Candace knew her weaknesses. Candace was a dropout of the University of Rhode Island. Okay, she was a journalist major, and according to her, she dropped out because she had some difficulties with her loan situation and ended up working for some kind of publication, I guess in marketing, a fashion magazine or something to that nature. However, if you think back, Candace sued her school system along with the NAACP and was awarded around $25,000, maybe $30,000 in that case. They settled for that amount. So loans shouldn't have been a problem. I'm not sure what she did with that money, but apparently she squandered it just like she's squandering her career now. Now, what I had hoped for Candace was that in spite of her shortcomings, she came out during the era of MAGA and Trump when it first started, and she was made very, very visible because of her gift of gab. She is very articulate. However, you did notice that, maybe due to immaturity, that she really didn't have the grasp of politics as she should have. She did very well when she engaged in there was a meeting with Congress pertaining to, I believe, freedom of speech and also the reparations debate. And she did very well defending herself. And I was really thinking, you know what, maybe Candace should take this time, go and take the LSAT, become an attorney, and then just keep going from there. I was thinking that maybe with the high visibility, maybe she would go back to school, finish that degree, and then take things from there. Become legitimate as a journalist. Get with one of the news stations like Fox News or, one of the stations that would embrace her and cultivate her visibility even more. I was also thinking that maybe Candace could cultivate herself into a shrewd politician. She could have taken that articulation and cultivated herself, crafted a persona, and I truly believe with all my heart that had she done that, Candace, not Kamala, not the First Lady Obama, but Candace could have been the first Black female president. I believe that in my heart. Unfortunately, instead of cultivating herself. Candace instead decided to hastily marry a man, a very powerful man from Great Britain, after 18 days, yes, 18 days, someone she hardly knows. And from that point on, when she hooked up with Mr. Lavender, then suddenly Candace went from shit to shinola. She dropped from sugar to shit. She started with, it's almost as if someone put a battery in her back and changed her programming. And instead of cultivating herself, she started popping out babies left and right, I guess to secure her place in this hastily made decision to marry a man that may actually be gay. But she started popping out babies left and right, didn't cultivate herself, and slowly but surely started traipsing down the rabbit hole of conspiracies, to the point where people are actually have a name for it. Candaspiracies? They're actually turning her into a meme, because every other video is some kind of conspiracy. Initially, it started out with this one, with Brigitte Macron. And, no matter where she got that trash from, if she just borrowed it from some bloggers over in France or whatever, it wasn't her place. Candace should know better. That there's no way in the world you're going to sit there and use the doubt created by age and aging. This is a 70-something-year-old woman, and believe it or not, in my opinion, to be up in her 70s, I think Brigitte looks fabulous. I think she looks good, and I strongly doubt that Candace will look as good as Brigitte when she gets that same age. I strongly doubt it. But for a younger woman to attack an older woman like that, I found it reprehensible. And Candace is going to reap the repercussions of her ways. Now, since that time, Candace has also decided to engage in a conspiracy theory about Charlie Kirk. It's like one after the other. First, it was the Jews. The Jews did it. Oh, she had to bring in the Jews somehow. And then, when that wasn't really, taking off, just the other day she posted that the witches, someone hired a witch to take Charlie Kirk out. Now, they already have a suspect. His significant other turned in the text messages. It's very likely that this young man, Mr. Robinson, probably is on the autism spectrum. And with a lot of people on the autism spectrum, they have a tendency to be easily led down the rabbit hole of ideologies. The young man was a furry at first, and then found himself engaged in a relationship with a transgender. Now, Candace looks at the text messages and doubts the validity of them because she doesn't really understand people on the autism spectrum. A lot of times, people on the autism spectrum can sound highly scripted because in many ways we are. Up until a certain age, and depending on where they are on the spectrum, people with Asperger's, which is what I have, and then you have the people who are further down. A lot of times, people who are further down are coming along and coming of age tend to grab phrases in order to allow themselves to be articulate and articulate their feelings. So they may grab a line from Peppa Pig. They may grab a line from a pastor. They may grab a line from a Shakespeare novel. So you can't really look at something written by someone on the spectrum. I don't know where he was on the spectrum, but you can clearly see that he may actually have been on the spectrum. You can't just say, oh, well, that's something that a computer wrote and I don't believe it. I think the CIA and I think this, that, and the other, and come up with all of these wild conspiracy theories when you have a suspect, you have all the video footage, you're gaslighting us to believe something that, and say that what we see in front of us and what has been presented is not what it is because you don't know, but you know. Only to turn around a few days after that, after you blame the witches for doing it, you come up with this weird prophecy claiming that you felt this in your bones because of something that you saw on a web page or something about bees. Kooky Candace. Kooky Candace. Now, I strongly feel that Candace is getting ready to lose this lawsuit. She is getting ready to be buried, and she is probably going to have to file bankruptcy because, and mark my word on this, if you hastily married a man after 18 days from another country that you barely know, that you didn't go out with, you just popped up, married him, had a slew of babies, knowing good and well that they're an old aristocratic family. They may have given you grace and allowed you into their circle. But the one thing that happens to a lot of black people who are considered exceptions to the rule, the people we'll allow into our inner circle, they'll allow you in and they'll sit and they'll put you up like the Maltese kitten. And you're supposed to present, and you're supposed to just play the role for them. But as soon as you show cracks in the surface, eventually those same people who propped you up will leave you high and dry. Just like those disciples did Jesus on the cross. You guys don't know that? You remember the only ones that were standing were the women. The women stayed at the feet of the cross. The rest of those disciples, those scary disciples, were hiding, including John, who made the recollection of it. He was hiding somewhere. He wasn't out in clear view like those women. Scary ass disciples. And elites are the same way. However, on the spectrum they are, as far as elite status is concerned. They'll prop you up, and eventually, when people start noticing things about you, or you start slipping up a little too much, they'll drop you from sugar to shit. And eventually, you'll be battling it on your own. They're not going to sit here. I can almost guarantee you what that conversation around the family table when she's not present is about. I can only imagine the eyes and the shifting that goes along when she's not around or when she passes by. Or the conversations over the phone that her husband may not be sharing between he and his father. The embarrassment to that family. Do you honestly think that family wants to sully their own name on behalf of some young girl that came from a regular lower middle class environment somewhere in Stamford, Connecticut? Do you honestly think they want to do that? No. And I highly suspect he probably had her sign a prenup, which is probably why she's trying to sell t-shirts and all kinds of weirdness. And someone even mentioned her seeking a job with a Turning Point at one point before Charlie Kirk died. I don't think Candace has it like that. She's earned about maybe $5 million from her ventures. I don't think she has it like that, and they're suing her for $250 million. And I don't think she's going to be able to handle that. She can claim bankruptcy. Whether they'll let her off, I don't know. Because there have been plenty of bloggers who are in hot water because of some of the things they've said, the defaming things they've said against other people. But you got to be careful when you start doing these things. Also, as far as Candace is concerned, I don't think she can climb back up to where she was. She's not going to be able to do it. Alex Jones is different. Alex Jones has the type of persona. He's a grubby Texan. He's a male that probably drives a big blue pickup truck. He's got friends at the local beer joint. Probably goes out to the local bar. He's a hero in circles. So regardless of what kooky conspiracies he comes up with, they're going to say, that's Alex, whatever else. He's still going to find a way, and he's still going to have those connections in place to pull him up. He's still around. He recovered quite nicely. Candace, I don't think, is going to be able to recover as well. One, because she's a female. Two, because of the stances that she's taken. Now, it was perfectly okay when Candace, when they put her out as the Shabbos Goy, when she was working over there for the conservative Jewish networks, right? And they hired her to go out and, be the whipping board, be the, S for against Black Americans. Go ahead and beat them over the head and browbeat them and make nasty comments about them and whatever else. No one said a thing. But then all of a sudden, I don't know what happened. I don't know if she pissed somebody off over there at the Daily Wire, or if she got into it with Shapiro, who was also very intelligent. Or, maybe the two of them got into it, or maybe she found out that she actually was the Shabbos Goy and actually got upset and decided that I don't like Jewish people anymore. And then next thing you know, she wants to start beating Jewish people over the head because of an interaction with Shapiro or somebody. I'm highly suspicious and thinking it probably was with Shapiro. Either that, or she got with this guy who is in some kind of fringe Catholic type of area where they practice replacement theory as far as the doctrine that they live by, the Christian doctrine, in which they feel that they are the replacement of the Jews. Either that, or she's got with that man, he's put a battery in her back about Jewish people and how Catholics are the replacement, and she feels somehow obligated to beat down on the Jews like she did in beating down on the blacks. It has to be something. It has to be something to it. But with her now, if she is sued, and if she ends up looking like a fool, I suspect her husband may eventually become an ex-husband. He may want to drop her. He may drop her to save his own legacy and his own name. Or they may just say, oh, come dear, Candace, maybe we need to admit you to the hospital and take a little rest here and there. She's only made the case with all of these weird videos. If someone wanted to go to whatever psychiatric institution system that they have over in Great Britain and say, my wife is off kilter, she's acting crazy, she's acting somewhat schizophrenic, I don't trust her around our children anymore. She's pulled our children out of school to homeschool them. She's coming up with all of these crazy conspiracy theories. She's stated that, the First Lady of France is a man, picked a fight with her. She's picked a fight with leaders, governmental leaders. She needs to be committed. She has paved the road for it. She has paved the road for that. She's also paved the road for them to say, I'm going to fight for custody and take my children away from her. So you have all of those possibilities. You have the possibility of a divorce. You have the possibility of being committed. And just going down and descending down to the status where people eventually are not going to listen to her. And they're going to start calling her Kooky Candace. Oh, Kooky Candace. And once someone puts that label on your head that you're insane, that you have a mental disorder, that there's something wrong with you, and you are a black woman, there is no coming back from it. That's what everyone will believe. And all they'll do to seal in the point is take clips from here and there and here and there. And it doesn't help that she's friends with Kanye West, who is also, just crazy. Doesn't help. And believe it or not, he probably will drop her like a bad habit too, as a friend. He probably will. She didn't throw him under the bus, but he probably would throw her under the bus. Because he's not the most cordial when it comes to black women himself. So Candace has put too much trust in people and not enough trust in herself and her own intellect. Her task and her job was to cultivate herself into the intellectual powerhouse and use that fluency to create a very strong legacy. The road was paved and lit for her. And instead of doing that, she decided to squander it. So no, she won't be coming back the way Alex Jones did. This is the end of the road for Candace. She may remain on YouTube as, someone entertaining. But as far as getting in those inner circles, eventually they're going to shut that down. Mark my word. Ciao, ciao, and have a great one.